right, guys. Well, once again, I'm very, very, very excited to bring you a new episode, but this one's going to be a bonus episode, right? Because most of you guys that are watching or listening, you're used to us having another father on here and me asking them questions. But however, a friend of mine, we got together recently, and we thought it'd be a great idea to put a bonus episode on here for any fathers or any parents or any single people, regardless, anybody out there listening or watching, this would be a good opportunity for you guys to get some knowledge on real estate and home buying and all that stuff that kind of goes into that. And so on this episode, we're going to be talking about the home buying process for first time home buyers. But before we roll into that, my man, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for the people.
Yeah, so my name's Daneil Tully, born and raised in Austin. Some interesting, I feel like I got to go like, this is like high school where they're like, hey, 3 interesting facts. Like, what do you like to eat?
Right.
So former firefighter, now full-time realtor.
Tell us something about working at Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's actually how me and Chris know each other. We worked at Dick's Sporting Goods I think my last year there was like 2015, 2016.
Yep.
We were the ones in team sports.
Yep.
So if you know anything about team sports, that means you don't have the skill set to be a cashier or to manage apparel. Yeah. Your job is to walk around and ask people how they're doing. Like, hey, how are you doing? Yep. You want to know about this football helmet, this football. And I've always liked when people ask me stuff about baseball. I had no clue about baseball, lacrosse. So whenever those questions came, I think that's where I truly got my sales experience of how to think fast, quick. So that job, oh my gosh, I was just laughing about working there. Now I feel like I should give it so much credit on how I got where I'm at now. Because it really made you get out of your comfort zone and you had to talk to everyone. You had to know almost every department. But it was one of the funnest jobs, like such an easy, laid back job.
Yeah.
I can't complain about that. I kind of miss it. I need to go back and visit.
Dude, I feel you, man. Those were the day I think back and I'm like, man, those were simple times. But then again, I asked myself, I was like, man, how was I surviving on what we were making an hour?
Oh. Yeah, I think the reality check was when the raise was like 14 cents. I was like, okay. I think that gave me clarity. I need to move on.
Yeah.
That was like the perfect like aha moment. That was my green light. I need to leave. But you actually trained me. When I first got there, Chris was there before me, so he actually trained me. When I say training, he just walked me around the store and was like, "This is what department looks like." And Chris had the nickname like Swole Chris. I think we had 2 different Chris's, so I had to work with a swole guy. Definitely had the long sleeves on while I was working there, motivated me to work out. And that's why I like to work out now. Thanks, Chris.
Heck yeah, let's go, baby. Before we got on here, I didn't even think about us talking about how we met. So yeah, no, those were good times, man. But do you have what's an interesting fact about yourself besides the fact that you grew up in Austin? Because I think that's pretty interesting myself.
I think I was also on The Bachelorette. That's a fun, interesting story too.
That's right.
Was a part of that franchise for a season. Super fun experience. I feel like it was so long ago, but it was 2021.
Dude.
December of 2021. Season 18.
Quick. My bad, bro. Real quick. Tell everybody for those who don't know, what is The Bachelorette? What is that?
Oh, so yeah. So let me rewind real quick. So I was one of those people, I've seen it like if my sisters were watching it, like I would like catch an episode maybe. I knew of it just like growing up. I feel like that was like a popular show. Knew nothing about it. Didn't even really know it's still like a TV show. If you don't know what it is, it's for Bachelorette means there's one girl, 30 guys. Compete. I guess that's the best word. Compete. Feel like win her heart. Then like the Bachelor is one guy. Then like 30 girls competing to win his heart. So I was part of the one where I was one of the 30. If you want like to laugh, just look up that that entrance they made me do. I'm not even going to speak on it.
I saw that too.
It like went viral on TikTok. So yeah, my entrance was crazy. I don't regret it. It was hilarious. I didn't plan it. Yeah. I was just like, hey, this is some advice. Do you want to do it? I was like, no, not really. Next minute, I'm doing it. So that's what I did. So if you want to laugh, just go watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was part of that show. And it was definitely cool because I didn't apply for it. It was kind of just like a nomination, working at the fire department, took the interviews. I was like, I'm really not going to go on this show. I'm like one of whoever, like all the people out there that are probably trying to get on it. I don't even watch the show, so why would I go on it? Next
Right.
minute, I'm on it. Um, so that was fun. Made, handful, so many friends off that show. Some of my best friends were on that show that I met,
Nice.
and we still stay, very well connected. We communicate. So it was an experience, like one of the funnest. No, I don't want to say like the funnest experience, but like afterwards, it was like the funnest experience because I made so many friends off it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I guess I get to say I was on TV for a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely were, man. I remember you telling me to check it out, and I get on there and I see that intro, and I'm like, I'm like, bro, I saw that, I was like, of course, man.
We
But it
can't
was
tell people the
hilarious.
intro. They have to like we
Yeah,
gotta. I feel
yeah.
like they gotta go look it up.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say nothing. It's worth, for those of you that are watching or listening, it's definitely worth the watch. Go check out his intro on The Bachelorette. Do you remember which season it was?
Season 18.
Season
So
18.
yeah, I guess the latest season, season 19. So yeah, so that's probably that's a very cool thing, and that kind of helped me pivot, right? I
Yeah.
think life's all about pivots. Chris, you know about pivots. So firefighter for almost 6 years.
Mm.
Um, Graduated high school. I knew I wanted to be a firefighter, and I remember I used to talk to you about it. I just finished fire academy, went fire academy EMT. So when I talked to you, had my certs, and I was trying to figure out my next steps because military police, like you're trying to find like a good fit. So
Mm-hmm.
the first job offer, you don't have to take it. I was just trying to figure out if I wanted to go volunteer because at that time, or even now, volunteering is the best way to like get into an industry, to kind of see if you want to do it or learn the skills because military, police, fire, those are all professions that you almost have to. It's almost like who you are in essence. It's not really a job. It's very much who you are.
Yep.
Your family, friends have to understand. Like they're off on holidays, but you're not off on holidays because you still need to perform and do your job. So it was definitely. I think it helped like kind of develop my character. You get to see a lot of things you normally wouldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to learn how to sacrifice time, kind of relationships, because sometimes on your birthday you don't get to take off because it's your birthday, or it's your spouse's birthday, your kid's birthday. You have to be at work. You can't leave
Mm-hmm.
early because it's their birthday. You can't leave early because it's Christmas and you got to go to a Christmas dinner. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
You spend it with the guys you work with. So it very much became like who I was. And as you probably know, when you introduce yourself, you're like, hey, I'm Chris, I'm in the military, or I'm a cop, or like just like this podcast, I'm a father, right? That's
Yeah.
exactly who you are. And so as Daniel the firefighter, that's kind of how my friends describe me. And even on the show, they really wanted to highlight that, so it became almost like my identity in a way. And so went on the show, was lucky enough to be in good relations with the department to allow me to do that. I came back, and first time ever in my, like, I'm 28 right now.
Okay.
First time ever I felt like I could not really be anybody else, but like I really could like enjoy like holidays, being off. And I was just like, oh, this is different. I had my real estate license because I was working to promote. So I went to the community college,
Okay.
ACC, to get a degree in real estate. As soon as they allowed me to test for the cert, I really was like, okay, I'm just going to test just to do it because people are saying how hard it is. So I didn't want to go too far into the course, to the classes, and kind of forget kind of like the stuff you needed to go take that test. So I took the test, passed it first time, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like now what? Like, what do I do with this? One of my buddies from high school needed to buy a house, so I helped him. It's perfect opportunity to help. So I helped him, and then I was like, okay, this is fun. It kind of like fed back into my salesmanship, kind of like working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and working at a fire job. or any job that, you're around people, you're consistently talking to new people, the backgrounds, like it doesn't matter. You just have to learn how to communicate. So the salesmanship came back in and started helping fellow firefighters, friends, family purchase homes. Really enjoyed it. And that kind of led me into, coming back from the show. I was like, I kind of want to pivot and try something else. I'm so young.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So I became a full-time agent. I'm with Keller Williams, full-time agent, and I just kept going. I just kept working on my craft. Whenever like I focus in on something, I want to be the best at it. So just kept working on that craft, and 3 years later, I'm here. Still selling homes in Austin and surrounding areas.
Yep.
And that's how we also met. Is you eventually wanted to buy something. I had the opportunity to help you. Yeah, so that's kind of my career and how I got to where I'm at right now.
Nice, man. Dude, that's huge.
A
That's
lot. I gave you a
it.
lot. I gave you
No,
like my whole
it's
28 years right there.
dude, it's great though, because like it gives people out there the mindset that sometimes it just takes a decision. You know what I mean? Kind of like myself. You can stay where you're at, and different opportunities will be presented to you, and you just kind of have to make that decision and commit to it, be consistent in it. And really it comes down to finding something you love. You found real estate, you loved it, and you're like, hey, I want to try this out full time. Why? Because I can. You know what I mean? And so just you made that decision, and you're doing it now. And so, man, I love it. And before I ask you the first question, real quick, for anybody listening, obviously it's going to be in the description and the comments and etc. But just tell people how to get a hold of you, either via email, social media apps. How somebody get a hold of you if they're at this point in the video and they have some questions about real estate.
Yeah, so I feel like we're in the day and age. Social media is everything. So Instagram, Daneil Tully 7. I think 7 is just my lucky number. I don't know, or is
Okay.
this available? Who knows?
There you go.
Or dtully@kw.com. That's my email. You could always give me a call. Both platforms has my phone number, or you could reach out to Chris. He would be glad to give you my phone number. I'd be glad if you gave people my phone number.
For sure.
But yeah, so and I'm also on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn's such a underutilized platform. So LinkedIn's, if you ever want to reach out to me there. But yeah, those are like the best ways to reach me, and I'm always available too. I'm waking up at like 5:30, so people are always like, "Oh, you're reaching out to me." I'm like, I'm at the gym or I'm getting ready for work. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. And for those of you that are listening and not watching, that's Tully with two L's, Tully. All
Yeah,
right.
that is
So
correct. Yeah.
so let's roll into some first time home buyer info. So
Yeah.
I was in this situation in, what was it, 2021? I think you helped us get this house.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah. So it hasn't even been that long ago. But I will tell you guys, the process was easy for me. Part of it was timing, right? As far as the situation, but a big part of it was working with Daneil, his expertise in the field, and really just him kind of taking the reins on the process, and us not really having to do anything. For those of you that don't know, I was, let's see, when we moved into this house, I had been a father for about a month. Okay, so this
Yeah.
ties in. My son was born August 28th. We closed on this house September 24th. And so, dude, first off, thank you very much. Right, thank you for your time, your expertise, your willingness to help. But I will tell you this real quick before, and I know people are waiting for the questions, right? But before we get into this, I will say, like, shout out to you for your consistent marketing, because the reason Maddie and I started thinking about getting a house, and I don't know if I told you this, was
No,
because
I need to hear this.
this is hilarious. So I can remember I had just bought a truck,
Mhm.
and Maddie had a Nissan Rogue SUV, and I was pretty proud of that because we had two vehicles, and I had never grown up with, my mom didn't have a car growing up. I grew up in Chicago, so we never had our own vehicle. So
Yeah.
I had a brand new truck. Maddie had a brand new SUV, so I took a picture on Snapchat of those two. But we were living at an apartment complex. I don't even know if you remember this. And I took a picture of our vehicles next to each other. And I don't remember what the caption said. All I remember is you you messaged me back, and you were like, "Hey, bro, those two vehicles would look real nice in the driveway of your new home.
Oh my, that's definitely something I would say. So I'm not even gonna argue this.
Dude, honestly, and that same day, I was like, this is, first of all, I was like, yo, he's kind of right. They would look nice in a driveway, especially because we were at an apartment complex where we were always having to look for parking. But then I told Maddie, I was like, why don't we just see if we can get a house? And sure enough, and that's exactly why we're doing this episode. Sure enough, we qualified. We didn't even know. We weren't even thinking about it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And in our mind, we were like, hey, we got to wait until we have this much saved up or blah, blah, blah. But all it took was me reaching back out to you and saying, hey, bro, let's look at, what it would look like for us to get a house. And sure enough, it would. I think it only took us like what, a month or two to get us in a house.
yeah, especially with your background, you had a VA loan, and I think a lot of people don't understand a mortgage lender, right? That's going to be the person to help supply the funds, and I think that's a position a lot of people don't look at or take advantage of. Like they're a free service. I would take advantage of that. Even if you're thinking about looking to buy something in the next year or two, I would reach out and just they will help you game plan. So, especially for you, we were able to, reach out to a mortgage lender and they gave you the information and that provided you with the next step to pull the trigger. And then you were like, oh, I could afford a house. I don't need a rent. I have these two cars. Like, why not just complete the full picture of, because everybody's going to want to buy a house. Everybody buys a house, hopefully, sometime in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, do I want to wait? Do I not want to wait? Problem with waiting is we live in Austin, Texas, even like the surrounding areas. So the longer you wait, as we know, the city's getting bigger. It's a popular city to move to. People vacation here. It's limited space, so you really have to kind of hone in and buy if you can. Which you're like, hey, I'm approved. I bought. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because I think when we were sitting in, you remember we were sitting in that sales office, the lady was like, hey, tomorrow this house will go up by 6,000 because we've been going up by 6,000 every Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we were able to take that advantage just because you were like, hey, I'm gonna take the first step. I'm gonna see if I could actually qualify, be approved. Next step was we found the right home. So you just like, hey, I want to get it. Versus like renting, and now it gave you leverage. You build a net worth,
Yeah.
and help you with your wealth, right? And so that's the win right there.
Yeah, that's huge, man. And so, like, as we kind of roll right into it, this is something that I've always been curious about because I want to know if maybe I made some of these mistakes. But what are some mistakes that you've seen first time home buyers make?
I think the biggest one is not getting educated. I think the education system's not really catered to for people to buy a home, and buying a home is such a key aspect. And so now I find myself more in an educational role
Mm-hmm.
of like trying to enlighten people, teach people how to buy a home. And I think some mistakes people are looking at is they're getting wrong information. If you really want to know the right information versus like going to like Instagram, YouTube, because some people aren't qualified, they're just kind of they just want to be the first to like drop news. And as we know in society, sometimes you hear something on TV or you read a magazine, newspaper, people just want to be first at throwing out information if it's right or wrong. So I
Mm-hmm.
always tell people reach out to a realtor, reach out to a mortgage lender. That's the first place to start. If you're because I have people they're like, well, I need 20% down to buy a house. Who told you that? Well, my friend told me that. Okay, that's wrong. It would be good to have 20%, but you only need 3-5%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they would only know that if they went to a professional mortgage lender, right? Or they're saying every house in Austin's over $1 million. Who told you that? Well, I saw something on YouTube. Well, no, we could definitely find you a house for under $1 million. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's the first thing people need to do is just reach out to resources like legitimate resources. So
Mm.
that would be my best advice is reach out to legitimate resources, talk to them, and that will help you dictate kind of what you want to do in the future.
That's huge, man. And for those of you that are listening or watching, like the key there is to speak to a professional like Daneil. And even if, and correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but like even if somebody, because we post this on YouTube, and obviously me, growing up in Chicago, I have people who I know in Illinois who probably watch these. If they wanted to even ask you questions, right? Obviously Illinois is different, state and stuff like that, but they can reach
Yeah.
out to you and ask questions and stuff, right?
Yeah. The cool thing about me as an agent is like networkings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I network with agents from all over. One of my good, I got San Diego, Houston. I could find an agent for you. Like we all stay connected. I get referred from agents from Seattle, right? The Seattle guy is like, hey, so many people moving to Austin. Like, hey, so I have his contact info. So if somebody wanted to move to Seattle, for example, is like, I know an agent. So find a local agent, be like, hey, I need help, because he's probably going to have the best referral resource for you, because if he's working with that person, obviously that person has shown some type of consistency or good work ethic that he would, refer somebody to go do that, versus you having to go online. You could Google realtors right now, and I'm sure 20,000 would pull up in Austin. But it's just like, out of those 20,000, who's a full-time agent? Who's doing it part-time? Does maybe one a year? Is he going to be most up to date on the market? If he has like a full-time job, he needs to worry about, why would he be paying attention to the Austin market, which consistently changes. So you want to make sure you're finding the right people. I think there's a stat right now. I think there's like 20,000 agents in Austin,
Mm.
and maybe 30% are like truly active. So
Okay.
you really want to make sure you're finding the right agent and then take it from there. That would be my best advice.
So, and you were talking about, the whole 20% down and people telling other people that, and that's the reason why people don't commit or don't even ask the questions. But if somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, so you're telling me I don't need, I may not need 20% down. Okay, awesome. So, maybe I'm interested in getting started. How would I go about understanding how much I can afford? Like what do you have some tips on, maybe some math I can do, income times XYZ? How would you advise somebody on that?
Like an FHA loan, minimum 3.5% down, right? Then, there's a conventional, there's a VA. So there's multiple loans. So my best advice, if you're saying, hey, I have a budget I want to stay at, I don't want to go over this budget, because when you look at a house, you want to see how much you're going to pay on your mortgage, right? That's going to be your monthly payment. So my best advice would be to reach out to a lender who's a free service, who's going to have the best tools and equipment to truly figure out what your payment will be, because they're going to have the current interest rate, right? Versus you going to like Zillow or just like Google, hey, if I, you know what I mean, where they're going to be able to give you more clarification on what you want to do and give you an updated price. Because I see it all the time. Somebody's like, well, I can't afford to buy right now because my mortgage payment is going to be 4,000. And you're like, how did you get that info? And then they're like, oh, I Googled it. But then they forgot to do the interest rate, or forgot to put XYZ in. And it's just like, well, that's completely wrong. Then they talk to a professional and they're like, oh, I could buy now. But they had the wrong information for 6 months. And now there's 6 months kind of going through this new rabbit hole of, the house I wanted before was $50,000 cheaper. Now it's more, or now that home's not even available, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would just reiterate on finding a realtor, finding a mortgage lender, start there first.
Okay. Got you. Love it. Yes. Reach out to a professional. Don't try and do that math yourself.
No,
Because if you're
don't,
like
don't
me,
try
you don't
doing
got
that.
you don't got
And
time
I'm
for
not good
that.
at math, so it's just like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. So I'm glad you talked about money down, and obviously for those of you that are listening or watching this, it'll be different, based on the circumstances, right? But in most cases, it's not going to be what your friends are telling you or what your family members are telling you.
Yeah, just go straight to a professional.
That's huge. So this is more of like a technical question, or I guess a deeper question, but I mean, maybe important for most first-time home buyers who aren't military. What is PMI, or what does that even stand for?
Yeah, so PMI is going to be private mortgage insurance. And so basically what that they want to insure that loan they're giving you. So they're going to put a PMI if if you're not putting more than a 20% or more. So that's why a lot of people say, hey, I want to, get 20%, but sometimes they just used to their parents saying 20%. But you could get that PMI taken off your monthly payments, but the PMI is just really just a little add-on from that company lending you money, of just like, hey, you're doing less than what we would prefer, so we're going to add a little bit just for security that we're going to get our money back. So that's the PMI. And definitely when you talk to your lender, ask them about that. Be like, hey, what's the best thing I could do to lower that PMI or not pay it at all? and then they should help you navigate it. Because sometimes, you know, you look at the PMI and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put less than 20% down and just take care of that PMI, and then I know like in 2 years I could, you know, get it removed by consistently like doing my payments. So I would never let the PMI deter somebody from purchasing. If you don't have the 20% down, talk to your lender, let them know. Be like, hey, should I wait if I want my payment to look like this, or you know, what would my PMI? Because you know, sometimes PMI is not as scary as some people think. So definitely talk to your lender. I have lenders. If you need them, reach out to me. I got you.
Yeah, I love it. I'm glad I asked that because I'm sure a lot of people have heard, like, again, you know, from friends and family, oh, PMI this, PMI that, or whatever. And so, you know, and yeah, with the mortgage insurance, you know, it's, I mean, you insure your car, you know what I mean? Like there's all,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I guess it just makes sense, right? Here's a big one that a lot of people, including me, didn't know. You know, I grew up in apartments my whole life. This is the first house I've actually lived in that I own, or that I, you know, that my mom never owned a house, right? So
Yeah.
so this is my first time being in a house that either I own or my guardian owns, I guess, you know what I'm saying, or my parent. But what is equity and why is it important, brother?
Yeah. So equity, you know, equity, you always hear like, hey, man, I got equity in my home, or, you know, you can build equity. But like the simplest, you know, I guess the simplest way to say is it's the difference between how much your home is worth and how much you owe on your mortgage, right? So, you know, that's really where the wealth is kind of built, is in your equity. You know, it's really like it could, you know, you could create generational wealth. And, you know, there's a big, do I want to rent or do I want to own a home? Like when you're renting, you're not building any equity for yourself. When you own a home, you are. So you own that home 5 years later. Example, I made 50,000, 100,000 of equity, and now you have some like leverage if you want to like kind of use that money to do whatever. I know some people they want to start a business. I hope a client, they didn't want to take a loan out, so they knew they had 200,000 in the equity of their house, right?
Mm.
So they sold their home, took that 200,000 and put it into a business, which is like super powerful if you think about it, because they don't have a big debt on their shoulders. They were able to use equity from a home purchase. Not only did they have a place to live, the money they were using to pay their mortgage, you know, paying your rent, actually turned out to basically start a new business for them. So imagine if they just stayed in an apartment and they
Mm-hmm.
decided to do that same business. They're going to be like, we got to go get a loan because you can't take an equity equity out on your apartment, because you're paying a landlord and you're basically funding his equity, because he's going to sell that complex one day and he's going to be like, thanks, because I want to build another one somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think real estate's the coolest aspect is that if you want to create generational wealth, or if you just really want to start creating wealth for yourself, leverage buying a home. Buying
Yeah.
a home is the best way I tell people to like start investing, because you're gonna spend money to live somewhere, right? You could,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you could rent, you could buy, but you know, the sooner you could start living in a property and start building your equity, is the sooner you could kind of create that financial freedom and kind of allow yourself to have more tools in the toolbox if you want to, you know, start a business one day or whatever you want to do. Save your
Yeah.
money, right?
The goal is, I mean, I think everybody's goal at some point is to work for themselves or work on their own terms. I mean, I don't think I don't know too many people that want to, you know, work for somebody else forever, you know, and so having some equity or something like that, or some money for a startup business to where you are working for yourself or something like that, like buying a home is a great way to do that, right?
Yeah. And I think it just comes down to education. I think the lack of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and kind of financial literacy around real estate's really not there. No one really, you know, you grew up, you're living in a house. Some people don't live in a house. Some people are used to renting. So it's, you know, how can we break that cycle? Stats are crazy on home ownership. I think right now it's first time home buyers are like, the average age is like 36, because people are
Mm.
used to just renting. And then, you know, a lot of times people are they can't afford their rent prices because they're just going up so fast. So they're like, well, now I need to buy, and now it's way more expensive. But you know, I think everybody listening to this, if they would have purchased, you know, a year or two after college, or right when they get out of college, when they started, you know, their career job, how much money they would have saved with that home being that price then than, you know, however long they took to like buy it. They're buying the same house, but who knows how much money that house is at by the time they buy. Like especially Austin,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we get so many people renting, but as you see, the rental prices in Austin is going crazy right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, the people that move here and they're like, hey, you know, in 2020, they're like, hey, I'm a rent for 3 years. That same house they were looking at downtown or close to downtown is going to be 200,000 more than probably what 100,000 more. And so now
Mm.
that is like not even an option for them, but maybe when they first moved here, it was an option. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, let's take advantage of that. And I find a lot of times people just don't know how to start buying. They're just like, how much does a lender cost? It's, well, a lender's free, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like they don't understand some of the steps that it takes to buy. So I'm always like, you know, just reach out to someone that's qualified to help out in that process and
Yeah.
educate yourself on what it takes to buy.
For sure. For sure, man. That's, at the very least, for anybody watching or listening, just ask the questions. You know what I mean? Like you may
Yeah.
not even be, you don't have to be in a position to where you want to commit to buying a house, but
No.
just reach out and get the knowledge that you need so that when you are ready, you already have all the ammo and you're just like, okay, boom, we can pull the trigger because we already have all of our initial questions answered. That, and honestly, that saves you time because when you are ready to commit, you don't have to re-ask those questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think educating yourself now, even if you're like, hey, I'm 2 years out, but at least educating yourself now with the tools when you are ready to buy, you're aware that you're ready to buy, or you understand I need to buy within the next year because I understand what's happening in the market and what's happening around me, right? Sometimes it's not the right time for someone to buy. Maybe they just want to come here for a year for a job and they don't want to invest or be locked down. So, you know, they got something else they want to do. But being able to just to have the tools and the insight to make that decision when you want to make the decisions key.
Awesome, man. Last question for you. Why should first time home buyers or any home buyer for that matter reach out to Daneil Tully specifically for business?
Okay, so first I do a new home buyer seminar. I'm gonna start doing them monthly. We're gonna find a restaurant, find a fun location, do a happy hour event. I would tell somebody to reach out for education. Educate yourself. The more you know about something, the easier it is when you decide to buy. Learn the terminology, understand what's happening. Buying a home isn't as hard as I think people think. There's realtors, there's mortgage lenders. You know, we're going to provide you with all the info. It's always fun to go look at homes. So if you already have the Zillow app, you're probably already on the track of you probably want to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
Then understand how to, you know, take advantage of your tools. You know, if you could afford, if you're renting right now, I would definitely educate yourself at least enough to see what it would take to buy a house because your rent might be, you know, closer to your mortgage or enough for you to, you know, buy and not have to rent. If you're like, hey, I'm going to live here for the next 5-10 years and you're renting, it's just like, what's the benefit of that? Like
Mm.
really sit down and figure out the benefits of me renting versus buying. I'm like, and I could also tell you about the Bachelorette if you want like some inside scoops. So reach out. And then use me to help you buy your house. That's my sales pitch. Use me.
That's
That's the pitch.
huge. That's huge, bro. I will say this for anybody that's out there. Daniel's as you guys can tell. I mean, he's very laid back, but at the same time, he's somebody that you can tell specializes in what he does, applies a lot of time and focus into what he does. And
Yeah,
one thing that I do appreciate about you, bros, is whenever you deal with people or especially dealing with myself. Now, even though we met each other before you became an agent, I will say that your relationships aren't transactional. There's some
yeah, no,
salesmen out there who have transactional relationships to where it's like, they're looking for the sale in the meeting, greeting you, shaking your hand and getting to know you. You can, and a lot of people can sense that, okay, hey, this isn't real. This is just transactional. But I think that that's something that you really key in on is, hey, I'm actually a people person first, right?
100%. If you didn't want to buy your house with me, cool. We still would have been homies. I still would be inviting you to stuff. I would still hang out with you. I'm just also able to help you, buy a home. At the end of the day, man, I love just like hanging out, meeting people. I like to go play pickleball. I just like to socialize. So,
Yeah.
I've never been like, I don't do real estate just for the transactions, right? I do it because first off, I love real estate. I have a passion. We worked at Dick's Sporting Goods. We like to just like sell and interact with people. That's like something I like to do, and I just so happen to get paid doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on like, growing a business. So if you, or even if you don't want to buy a house or sell your house with me, if you just like, I want to get into real estate, let me know. I do whatever you need. I'm big into networking. I do whatever it takes to help you get into real estate, or if you want to get into anything, if I know the right people and connect you. But yeah, I'm not, if you're just like, I'm afraid to talk to him because I don't want to buy into 2 years, talk to me now, then, we could always come back in 2 years. Like, it's everything happens for a reason. So it's like, right timing. I'm a big believer in, everything happens for a reason and right timing. So if you just want information, let me know. I'm literally in the office. So, if you want to talk just real estate and you're like, I really don't want to buy, I just want to ask some questions, cool, just reach out. Yeah, no, that's kind of my stance on it. But I do know what you're talking about. Some people are just like, I only need you for this transaction, then like call me back up in 6 months when you're ready to buy. Clink.
For
But
sure.
no, that's not me. I might annoy you because I might ask you like randomly, do you want to join a pickleball league? You're like, what? No, wait, I just
Right.
want to buy a house from you. Then I'm like, oh, sorry.
Dude, I love it, man. Well, one more time, man. Tell people how to reach out to you if they wanted to, if they have some questions or if they know somebody, right? Everybody knows somebody
Yeah,
that
yeah,
could be in that
that's key.
situation.
Maybe you're listening to here. I feel like this is what they do on the radio. Maybe you're listening to this and you're not the one. No. If you're listening
Right.
to this and you're like, hey, I got a friend, family, or someone that needs to buy a house or is thinking about it, reach out. Let's talk. That's Instagram, dtully7, email, dtully at kw.com. I had to think about that. And then yeah, my phone number 512-767-2761. Call me. Or, I'm off Research Boulevard. I'm giving people a lot of information about me. They might
I
come
know,
stop.
right? It's going on
My
YouTube,
office
bro.
is in Austin, so I know I'm like license plate. Um, yeah, just reach out. Follow first of all, follow Chris. I was just telling Chris he needs to get on LinkedIn more. So yeah, follow this. This is good conversation, early growth. But yeah, give me a call, email me, follow me on Instagram, DM me. I'm always on it. I respond fast. I feel like it.
Yeah.
Fast
It's like
responder.
it's like a competition with you, man. Everything is, huh? Man, look, tell you what, man, again, thank you, bro. Thank you for just dedicating time to this. I'm excited really to put this out there because, for me as a father, I know that this part of life has definitely it's definitely something that I'm proud of, you know what I mean? But also something that I'm grateful that I stepped into, especially so early into fatherhood. And so my main reason for wanting to put this on our channel is to help any other fathers out there, but also any parents, anybody out there, regardless of whether you're a parent or not. But for me specifically, my father's out there, if you're interested in being a home buyer, if you know somebody, definitely just take that step, ask the questions, get yourself prepared. And Daniel's the perfect resource for that. We will make sure to put all your contact information in the description of the video. We'll put it on the social medias and everything. Last thing I want to leave y'all with, and I told you I'd do it, is, and this is on a serious topic, on a serious note, for those of
Yeah,
you who do buy a house, for those of you who do plan on buying a house, once you have that mortgage, understand that, you may be in a 15-year, 20-year, 30-year mortgage, right? Especially my fathers out there. Make sure that you have enough life insurance to cover that mortgage if something happens to you before that house is paid off, especially
exactly.
if you have a
Yeah.
family. Okay. And if you have any questions on that, you can feel free to email us for free at rippleeffectcooperation@gmail.com. We'll give you the answers that you need and you do what with it, however that goes, that you please, right? Do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? But that's huge, right? A lot of people get into a 30-year mortgage, and unfortunately, we live in a world where people don't live for 100 years, right? People don't live
Yeah.
out that 30 years,
Yeah. Yeah. As I say, be proactive, not reactive, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
you have the luxury of being proactive, take advantage of that because there
Yeah.
is resources. Chris is an expert on it. So
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of that. Think about the full picture. No, I think that's great.
Dude, this was wonderful. I'm excited to post it, bro. I'm somebody that is doing business with Daneil consistently, right? So I'm excited to continue that, but also hopefully bring you plenty of people that can also benefit from your education, your knowledge, and your services, brother.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for allowing me to do this and speak on home buying, and speak on the random stuff in my past, firefighting, the show. But yeah, if you want to know anything even about firefighting, let me know. I could definitely connect you with the right people in there. Or if you want to go on the show, I'm sure we could figure that out too. We could find people.
We may have some people, dude.
Hey, let me know. Let me know. Let me know.
For sure. For sure, man. Well, thank you again for everybody listening and everybody watching. As always, thank you for being here.